Welcome back to the Binger, Marvel fans. Today we're going to take a look at superpowers you didn't know your favorite heroes had, at least the ones they never use in the movies. So let's take a look at Thor's super breath, Black Panther's ability to summon zombies, and the weird things Spidey can do with his sticky fingers. See these and more powers that make us say, why don't they use these? Thor likes to think of himself as the strongest Avenger, and he's got the powers to back it up. He is a god, or godlike alien, or whatever Asgardians are supposed to be, so we know he's super strong, super durable, and apparently speaks Groot. We also learned in Thor Ragnarok that he can control lightning without a weapon. But if he is holding a specially made weapon, he can also fly and amplify his already amazing strength. All that should be enough, and yet there are other things he can do in the comics. One such ability is his super breath. Thor can create hurricane force winds by exhaling, according to the Marvel Wiki. That seems like a convenient way to deal with all those CGI armies he keeps needing to fight. At least it's better than trying to go hand-to-hand against thousands of enemies. Another odd power he has is the gift of forgetfulness. He once used it to remove Jane Foster's memory of a traumatic experience with Loki, as well as make a reporter forget that they'd been to Asgard. This power helps more in the comics, where secret identities actually matter. That's probably why movie Thor never uses it, since he lives in a world without secret identities. One where Spider-Man literally introduces himself as Peter Parker. Speaking of Spidey, he's hiding a nasty little power of his own. We all know Spider-Man can climb walls. There are different explanations as to how he does this. The comics make it sound rather scientific. It's explained that Peter can mentally control the flux of interatomic attraction. So he's actually shifting his skin's clinginess on a subatomic level. The Sam Raimi movies just say he has sticky hairs on his fingers. Whatever the reason, this ability goes far beyond what Spidey actually uses it for. We see this in his clone, Kane. Kane developed his own signature move called the Mark of Kane, where he uses the stickiness of his fingers to rip skin off his victims. The scar left behind is the mark, usually on the face. Peter has also done this a few times in the comics in a fit of rage. Peter is usually against such violence, so we've never seen the offensive use of his sticky hands fully explored. But we know he can use it for more than climbing. He used it to rip the Iron Man armor off of Tony Stark. He used it to make his face sticky so he couldn't be unmasked. We'll probably never see the MCU Spider-Man do anything but stick to walls, but he really should be more creative. Thor Ragnarok introduced Valkyrie into the MCU, or rather, one particular Valkyrie. The last of her kind, she gave up her duty for a life of drinking and fighting. Thor eventually convinced her to take up the Asgardian cause once more to get revenge on Hela. It was then, and later in Endgame, that we got to see Valkyrie in her full Pegasus-riding glory. The thing is, the Valkyrie actually have a superpower in the comics. They have a special sense of their own. Valkyrie can sense when a person's end is near. It manifests as a glow around them that only the Valkyrie can see. This allows them to save the person from their fate. If it's too late to save them, the Valkyrie can teleport them to the realm of the afterlife so they can at least be delivered respectfully. For all we know, the movie Valkyrie could have this ability. She just might not talk about it. She does have the thematic connection to the afterlife, being the last Valkyrie and having a vendetta against the very goddess of demise. Taking things into space, let's take a look at everyone's favorite adorable tree. He might be less adorable after becoming a moody teenager, but a Groot is still a Groot. Groot, as we know him, has the ability to rapidly grow parts of his body. He can also regenerate, as long as the one master twig of his body survives. That makes him the most durable of the Guardians of the Galaxy, even if Drax can somehow dangle out of a spaceship and survive a crash landing. But Groot can do a lot more than take a hit. He can shape the pieces of his body in very precise ways. He made a bubble to protect his fellow Guardians during a crash landing. The Guardians sure do crash a lot. He also made his arm the handle for Thor's axe, Stormbreaker. If Groot wanted, he could probably shape his limbs into simple tools. In the comics, he can make his arms into blades. Groot could be the most versatile of the Guardians of the Galaxy if only he put that darn game down. We all remember that epic moment in Avengers Endgame when Captain America wielded Thor's hammer. It was a surprise even to those who read the comics or remembered Age of Ultron. Even more surprising was how expertly he wielded it. Despite never using the magic hammer before, he was taking full advantage of its boomerang-like flight pattern. He was calling down lightning. He even did the sonic boom thing by throwing it into his shield. It turns out that was part of his abilities granted by the super soldier serum. As a peak human, Cap has perfect memory. He can perfectly recall anything that he's seen. He can also process many things at once. That's why he's such an expert tactician, because he literally thinks on another level. This peak mental processing also makes it so Cap can use any weapon seconds after picking it up. After seeing Thor use the hammer over the years, Cap was able to expertly copy the fighting style. So, why does he only ever use the shield? He should be totally carrying an arsenal so he can be ready for any situation. If he needs to have vibranium weapons, Black Panther can hook him up. Oh yeah, Black Panther. That's another interesting one. King T'Challa of Wakanda is the Black Panther, a special title passed down from generation to generation. It comes with enhanced physical abilities, sure, but also the ability to talk to spirits of Panther's past. In fact, in the comics, the Black Panther is considered the king of the spirit world. That leads to powers that T'Challa should really be using more. For one, the Black Panther has access to all of the knowledge and experience of every Black Panther of old. T'Challa has talked to his father's spirit many times, but we feel like he could do a lot more. Surely there's a use for generations of knowledge in everyday life. If that doesn't help, there's also the power to literally summon the deceased. The Black Panther can command an army of zombies and spirits. They can also make spiritual weapons that affect both the physical and other planes. And T'Challa is out here scratching with metal claws? Dude needs to start using his Panther powers. The newcomer to the movies, Captain Marvel gets a lot of attention for her overwhelming power. Many interviews and articles already attest to how she could be the strongest hero out there. She certainly gave Thanos a lot of trouble, right up until he gave her a fistful of Power Stone. The funny thing is, Carol Danvers has a hidden power that could save her from anything. She has a seventh sense of sorts, one that goes beyond even Spider-Man's spider sense. This awareness works on a cosmic level, letting her sense the state of reality itself. In the early stages of her comic career, it acted a lot like the spider sense. It showed her an opponent's moves before they happened, letting her react ahead of time. At full power, she can see a lot more. So she really should have been able to see Thanos' power punch coming. Of course, that wouldn't make for a very suspenseful fight, so the movie writers probably ignore this power. Sort of like how they mostly ignore Spidey's senses except for one scene. Hopefully we get more of it in Far From Home. With all this talk of the most powerful heroes, we have to mention Scarlet Witch. She hasn't gotten the chance to really let loose in the movies, but her full powers are on a level beyond anything we've seen. Even Thor in full god mode can't compare to the wrath of Wanda. Comics readers will remember her most famous moment, No More Mutants. For the uninitiated, Wanda once changed the entirety of reality so that no more mutants could be born. Right before that, she changed history so that Magneto ruled the world. Compare this to her movie abilities, where she mostly shoots energy and uses telekinesis. There's an obvious reason for this change. If Wanda could rewrite reality, like in the comics, the entire Infinity Stone plot would be pointless. Wanda could have just done a time heist all by herself, or just undid the snap with her own abilities. Still, movie Wanda has more power than she lets on. Remember Age of Ultron when she could read emotions? She saw people's greatest fears and could make them real. She doesn't really do that anymore, which is too bad. She probably could have done a number on Thanos with that. If you're one of the many fans who decided to prepare for Avengers Endgame by marathoning all the Marvel movies, you might have picked up on this one. Remember the first Ant-Man movie? Remember how Ant-Man actually used ants? With it being his namesake, it was treated as his main power. Recently, though, it seems like shrinking and growing are all Ant-Man does. While those are very impressive abilities and were used to create some cool set pieces, something feels lost without the ants. The first movie actually made time to show Scott learning to control different kinds of ants and use their properties for specific roles in a heist. He probably could have used some of those special ants for Endgame's time heist. Maybe if they were around, Loki wouldn't have had the chance to grab the Tesseract and slip away. If we do get more Ant-Man movies, we can expect the ants to continue to play a lesser role. Now that the Wasp is around, more focus will go into giving her cool things to do, which is a win for those who wanted to see more powerful ladies in Marvel movies. It's just a shame for all the ants out there looking for role models on the big screen. Finally, let's talk in depth about a fan-favorite character, James "Bucky" Barnes, the Winter Soldier. While not entirely superpowered, he does have that arm. Rocket Raccoon wants it, so it must be pretty special. So what do we know about Bucky's arm? Well, it's metal and it's strong. Other than that, it doesn't seem to do much, but that can't be right. Surely that fancy Wakandan arm Bucky has now can do more. If the comics have any say, it can do a lot more. For one, Bucky's arm has tons of internal sensors inside. They can detect when his weapons are empty and reload them automatically. They also keep him balanced and precise, which is why he can instantly use Cap's shield just as well as Cap. That's not all. It also has gadgets inside that can help Bucky in a pinch. The arm can deploy an EMP, or electric shock, to stun enemies and disable their weapons. It has devices that can detect hidden alarms and even people, making it hard to sneak up on him. Finally, Bucky can control the arm, even when it's not attached to his body, via a cybernetic connection. Although we didn't see him do that when Iron Man tore it off, so the power of movie Bucky's arm is still a mystery. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to weird powers Marvel heroes forgot to use. Did we forget your favorite hero? Do you have a favorite obscure power? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to The Binger for more looks at the stranger side of Marvel and beyond.